we all know now, because you have revealed the puzzle piece, she's a blackmailer. Can we agree on that?
I believe, sitting here in 2023,
yes,
that she was in on the extortion for sure.
Yes. So is it okay if I refer to her as a blackmailer?
I think there's a difference between blackmail and extortion, but yeah, okay. Sitting here today, we can. Sure.
We'll refer to her as an extortionist. So this woman, the extortionist, is going to do you a solid by negotiating with the Latin Kings for you to get on a payment plan for the extortion. Isn't that what happened?
What you're doing is you're taking what we know in 2003 and trying to say, this is what I knew in 2014.
Did she put you on a payment plan?
Yes, she said, because I didn't have the money, she said, asked me if I could pay $3,000 a month in 2014, and I said, yes, I can. Did
you hear any of the conversation where she was making these negotiations on your behalf?
No, when she said, I'm going to go check with my friend and if that's okay with him, she took her purse, took her keys, took her cell phone, she walked out of my front door, closed the door behind her, and I sat in my living room, and she came back about 5 minutes later.
You didn't want to talk to the guy yourself?
No, I didn't even think of that. I mean, but she went outside to call him.
All right, and then the two of you took a Xanax and went to sleep.
Well, I took a Xanax. I don't know if she took one out of the bottle, but I definitely did.
And the next morning, she left with your money, right?
Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, just how extreme the contrast is here between these, two central parties here. You got Adelson here. We are still getting a little bit of this kind of these elbows coming out. I think everybody's right. I don't think it's because there's some kind of illustrative gestures going on there. I just think it is that little moment of confidence now and again in what he's saying. I think could be absolutely right. It could be confidence in the rehearsal, confidence in the story. But in my terminology, most of the time he's there, he's in what I would call first circle, which means that some other part of his body is touching, of his arms is touching some other part of his body. And every now and again, a bit of space is made here. So compare that to the prosecution there, where she is going in often into what I would call third circle, where these joints here are almost locking out, but you get a lot of space between that. One is supremely more confident than the other. Why? Because it's taking up more space. Now, does that mean that one is more of a truth teller than the other? No. Sometimes if you're wanting to do a really good lie, you might gesture out because you really want to prove it. And in those cases, sometimes we see the gestures leave the frame completely. I don't think we're ever with Adelson going to see his gestures ever leave the frame. But somebody here has a point to make, and that's the prosecution. And she really is filling the space here, making herself the most entertaining thing on the screen. I don't mean entertaining in a negative way. I mean, without her in these clips, we'd have very little to keep your attention right now. And I think, there's a potential that she knows that for the court as well. And she knows that, and she knows this is a popular crime at the moment, and this is a chance to make her name. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it is entertaining what she's doing there. Why is it entertaining? Because we know what's happening. We can see what she's trying to do. It's really clear, and he is not that clear. One is more contained. One's more demonstrative. What does that tell us? Well, we'll find out as we go further along. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, there's nothing here to lie about. He's talking about the story of her going outside to talk to this guy, this hitman, whether he's talking about her talking to him about murder or about blackmail, doesn't matter. The same details would still apply. She went outside, she took this door, she took her stuff with her, went out and talked. So in effect, one of the best lies you can tell, if you're going to lie, is transference. I take an incident that happened and I transfer it to a new location or a new time. It's easy. I know all the details. I just rattle off those details. It makes it hard to break because it's a real factual account, just happens to not be used to describe what I'm describing. So it's a transference. Now, a couple of things. When you're on the stand and an attorney is trying to make you out to think you're smarter than everybody around and that you think you're going to figure your way out, that is not the time to display smartass. It is not the time. If I were coaching this guy, I would have said, the last thing you want to do is verbally joust with the attorney, and she's trying to make you look like you think you're smarter than everybody else. It comes across that way. He's parsing words. When you're arguing about whether a person is a blackmailer or an extortionist, what do you think average people sitting in the gallery are thinking? Never mind those 12 sitting that are going to decide your fate in 3 hours, I think you said it was, Chase. So it's tough. You got to be very careful. When you watch her, the other one, I always talk about request for approval, this forehead up thing. That's not what she's doing here. When he gets into that discussion about whether it's blackmail or extortion, when her forehead goes up, that's disbelief. Because if you look, there's other stuff that goes along with it. And you can see that her face is up, that's up like this. She's got a half smile and her eyes are amused. That's disbelief. That is not a request for approval. And then finally, as she says, didn't you ask to talk to him? It's funny you hear that lilt in his voice. Never thought of that. Really funny to think that he might have gotten into this situation. If it were really true, you would think you'd say, hey, let me talk to this guy. I want to find out what he wants. I don't want this third party. Considering that we now know, comment, it sounded a lot like Prince Andrew, but considering that we now know, comment, that made him look like the smartass, what we now know is that she was in the middle of all that. His respiration climbs a bit, but that's it. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, absolutely agree. And Mark, it's funny you mentioned first circle because I was fired from the position of second triangle in middle school. In York.
It's not good, dude.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Bad.
I screwed it up real bad. I guess I played it like a square. But in this video, he does something here that I teach to private clients that almost works for him, but he does it the wrong way. And there are literally 22 ways to make somebody cross-examining you look really stupid. And he tries one of them here in this clip. And if there's one takeaway from this that you can kind of write down in a notebook if you're watching this, the technique shown is a technique blown. So when you verbally bring up a technique being used by a person, it reduces the influential power of that technique to almost zero. So he's trying to kind of do that here, but he's doing it the wrong way. Greg, exactly like you said. And there's a formula to follow to make it stick in the jury's brain the right way, and he's not using it. And then there's emotional accessing, which we might see a whole lot in the future. And that may just be a regular spot for him. But it's about this conversation with this woman before she goes outside to make this call. And I'd imagine maybe this was an emotional time for him. But this is something I would definitely want to drill in a bit more on. That's all I got here. Scott?
All right. I don't know why this just hit me. I guess it's because we're talking about how an attorney, how you prep a witness, in other words, some things you do and some things you don't do. One time me and Chase were doing voir dire, and that's where people call it, choosing the jury or whatever. So this one guy, you go around, do what?
We weren't technically doing it.
No, you're advising.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, we were advising. Sorry about that, dude. And this one guy, the judge goes around the potential jurors, and she says, "Is there any reason you shouldn't be here?" And it's what you remember. You know where I'm going with this? The guy goes, "I'm a racist." This guy says he's a racist to everybody.
One way out of jury duty, I suppose.
One way to get yourself out.
You should have seen Chase though, because he goes, "Do what?" What?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Thumbs down on this guy.
Yeah, and he said, "I'm a racist." She said, the judge said, "What'd you say?" He said, I'm a racist," and he meant it. He really was. Mind blowing. I couldn't believe it. I still talk about it to this day, as you can see. Anyway, some of the illustrators we see from the attorney are a little bit odd because she does that big hand wave out this way. But like I said earlier, she's using this to her advantage because she's saying everybody knows. Everybody knows this. So that's why that one hand goes out there. Everybody, that's what she's saying. It sort of sticks there. Then she uses a regulator, almost like she's trying to keep him from talking. He's not going to say anything, but she's like holding him back from saying something. Slowly but surely, she gets up in his head with all these things, and we see his stress go through the roof on this.
One of those tape replays.
We all know now, because you have revealed the puzzle piece. She's a blackmailer. Can we agree on that?
I believe, sitting here in 2023,
Yes.
that she was in on the extortion for
Yes.
sure.
So is it okay if I refer to her as a blackmailer?
I think there's a difference between blackmail and extortion, but yeah,
Okay.
that's sitting here today, we can, sure.
We'll refer to her as an extortionist. So this woman, the extortionist, is going to do you a solid by negotiating with the Latin Kings for you to get on a payment plan for the extortion. Isn't that what happened?
What you're doing is you're taking what we know in 2003 and trying to say, this is what I knew in 2014.
Did she put you on a payment plan?
Yes, she said, because I didn't have the money, she said, asked me if I could pay $3,000 a month in 2014, and I said, yes, I can.
Did you hear any of the conversation where she was making these negotiations on your behalf?
No, when she said, I'm going to go check with my friend, and if that's okay with him, she took her purse, took her keys, took her cell phone, she walked out of my front door, closed the door behind her, and I sat in my living room, and she came back about 5 minutes later.
You didn't want to talk to the guy yourself?
No, I didn't even think of that. I mean, but she went outside to call him.
All right, and then the two of you took a Xanax and went to sleep.
Well, I took a Xanax. I don't know if she took one out of the bottle, but I definitely did.
And the next morning, she left with your money, right?
If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.
Again,